watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show tonight, Narendra Modi's strongest words of anguish on the 2002 riots. Says he was racked with pain and shaken to the core by what happened. Does this finally close the chapter of 2002 or does this stop short of an apology? Also, the government breaks the rules for Meera Kumar and Mayawati, allowing them to turn government houses into memorials. Is it really possible to end the politics of privilege? That's a little later in the show. But first, Narendra Modi responded on his blog today to the clean chit he's got from a Gujarat court yesterday in a riots case and spoke out at length for the first time on what he called his personal pain. In some of the strongest language he's ever used on the riots, Mr. Modi talked about his grief and anguish and how he had suffered personally. Rahul Srivastav has more on that big story tonight. Rahul, how is this being looked at? Is it being looked at as an expression of regret, anguish, remorse, or something that stops short of an apology? How is it being seen?
Nidhi, there is almost everything. There is anguish, grief, I was targeted. There is almost that Narendra Modi could have expressed in terms of some kind of a reconciliatory tone as far as his criticism is concerned. Most important, Nidhi, is the timing. It is just yesterday that Narendra Modi got some kind of a clean chit to the questions about his direct role in the 2000 riot case. Now, what has happened that since he realizes that he is off the hook in one of the cases, he realizes that this is the perfect opportunity to express his sense of anguish. Now, this sense of anguish, if you look at it closely, it says a lot of things, but it largely portrays Narendra Modi's sense of anguish. It also says that he is hurt because of the fact that he was targeted as somebody who was behind the riots. But it has definitely stopped short of an apology which is expected of him. Because remember one thing, that he was, even if you take the middle of the road argument against him, it was under his watch that riots of that kind took place in Gujarat. Narendra Modi has not apologized, but he has expressed a sense of anguish. The crisis for Narendra Modi is that Narendra Modi cannot go too far as expressing a huge sense of regret is concerned over the Gujarat riots, because it is his strident Hindu nationalist image, which he talked about in a recent interview, which the RSS and the RSS-backed cadres love. They like him because he's the mascot of Hindutva for them. But what through this blog he has done, he has shifted the boundaries of his image. He has shifted to a slightly more softer image in an attempt to, he knows that minority and several those who are critically against him will not be taken by this argument which he has tried to present today. But he realizes that there are those who might not be that critical or might not be those hardliners who are against him, but might start thinking about him. And that is why Narendra Modi, what he had started in the Sadbhavna mission in 2011, where he invited members of the minority but did not accept a skull cap because the RSS was watching. Once again, it is a statement in which he is reconciliatory, he is reaching out a bit, but has not gone to that one extreme length in which the RSS might find it uncomfortable.
All right, very interesting that. Rahul Srivastav, thanks very much for giving us that analysis. And that is really the question we're asking this evening. Does this actually stop short of an apology, or is this the closest we'll actually hear about regret and remorse from Narendra Modi as far as 2002 is concerned? Why is that even important is another question that many ask. Joining us tonight, we have Meenakshi Lekhi, the national spokesperson of the BJP. Anand Gadgil, national spokesperson of the Congress, joins us tonight from Mumbai. So does activist Javed Anand. And also with us are two guests from last night who we were discussing this very issue with. We have Ashok Malik and Pawan Verma back with us, and also commentator Aarti Jairath. Let me first get Ashok Malik and Aarti on this. Ashok, what does this blog piece mean to you? Is this the closest we're going to get to an expression of regret for the riots?
I think this is the closest we get to an expression of regret, and actually I agree with a lot of what Rahul just said. If this blog had come in isolation without the exoneration of sorts that Mr. Modi got yesterday, it wouldn't have had the same impact. But coming after the exoneration of sorts, the legal exoneration of sorts, or the legal vindication of sorts that came yesterday, I know it will be appealed in the higher courts and right up the Supreme Court, but that's another matter. Coming in the light of that, I think his timing has been fairly good. And what it will do is, there are going to be people who will never vote for Mr. Modi and never embrace his politics. Fair enough, I'm not discounting that. And frankly, Muslims, large sections of Muslims retain some misgivings about him. I acknowledge that as well. But in the past couple of years, the conversation around this man has changed, especially in the light of the UPA government's failures. This, in conjunction with yesterday's court decision, will get a few fence-sitters who are looking for reasons to vote for Mr. Modi to perhaps say,
So
fine,
it
we will vote
softens
for
his
him.
image. It as Rahul said.
It does. It expands his ambit, as it were.
Aarti, how do you look at it? Because the other thing Rahul was saying was that it stops short of being an actual apology to say, I'm sorry that this happened on my watch. Do you see it that way, or is it important that there are issues that he has touched upon today that he hasn't spoken on at all in the last 10 plus years?
Nidhi, you know, frankly, I don't know who Narendra Modi is trying to fool. I think people, and you know, obviously he's trying to reach out to voters, probably the fence-sitter voters, the floating vote or so on, or maybe the liberal Hindu or whatever with this so-called quasi-apology. But, you know, I think people are very cynical about politicians today. And I think people feel that politicians will say anything to get votes. So whether he apologizes or doesn't apologize, whether it stops short of an apology or whether he's expressing remorse, I think people see through it, and they see it as a cynical political ploy to get votes in this election.
So you see it as irrelevant, because this is one of the key talking points that has been there for years.
No, absolutely.
I just got to get one word in. I would agree with her if it had not been for yesterday's court decision. If the court decision had been the other way, or there'd been no court decision, and then he'd written this blog, then you could have said he's looking for votes. But in conjunction with yesterday's court decision, it has another import.
To maybe the BJP, the core BJP voter. But we're talking about the larger audience out there, because Narendra Modi will need much more than the core BJP voter to get the kind of seats and votes that he's hoping to get. And I think that you know, the larger vote out there is not fooled by all this. Whether the court decision came yesterday or did not come, the fact is, for 11 years he's remained absolutely silent. In fact, has consistently refused to express any kind of remorse or regret.
Mr. Pawan Verma, how do you see it? Because last night you were on this program and we were talking about this very issue, and Shahid Siddiqui brought up this issue of Mr. Narendra Modi, that he felt should reach out to Zakia Jafri and try and you know, ease her pain and reassure her that, you know, that justice would be done. He felt terrible for what had happened, and we talked about the need for him to feel anguish and to express that. He's talked about anguish, he's talked about grief, misery, pain, sadness, agony, and that he was personally dealing with suffering in solitude, as he said, and a harrowing ordeal that he went through in those days at a personal level. This is pretty far for Mr. Narendra Modi to go. I'm sure you'd concede that, Mr. Verma.
I think, Nidhi, almost every synonym which approximates anguish has been used in the blog. But my personal view and my view is that it's too late, too little, and far too cynical. I agree with what Aarti said, that the people of India cannot be seen as putty or plasticine to be molded as a tactical tool on the eve of election by a leader. You know, Nidhi, if anguish is spontaneous, it must be expressed after what happened in Gujarat, one of the worst carnages where thousands were killed or displaced or wounded. It could have happened on reflection soon after that. But if after 12 years, even when asked directly, you shy away from the self-righteously, even belligerently shy away from the expression of any remorse, which is a human emotion. And now on the eve of the election, you write a blog full of these adjectives of being racked in personal agony. To my mind, this is a very cynical move. What people wanted to see was not so much a flowery statement, but over this last decade, action and deeds. You don't once visit, as I said yesterday to you also, those who are displaced and are in the worst kind of slum ghetto in the heart of Ahmedabad. You don't visit them. You do not see to their condition. You do not speak of building bridges between communities, of conveying a message of social harmony which this country needs. And then you issue a blog a few months before the election. I'm sorry, Nidhi, if we are reducing politics to a tactical tool. And I want to make one last point.
Okay, and then I'll come to Meenakshi.
You know, I cannot fully fathom the BJP reaction. When Mr. Modi did not wish to express remorse, the entire party said that it's not necessary. Now that he has expressed it, the whole party is saying, see, what a great man he is, he has done so Do you need any more proof of the fact of his anguish?
Meenakshi
cannot be
Lekhi,
done
why?
both.
You know,
How do you respond to this particular criticism that it actually stops short of saying I'm sorry and deals more with his personal pain rather than the pain of those who were killed and their families?
For the information of people who are less informed on the subject, first his speech, which is available on YouTube, and those who have not heard him should go back to YouTube and hear him on the February 28th evening itself. It was recorded by Doordarshan. The anguish, the pain and restraining the communities is what he spoke on that day. Post that, 6th of March, again 2002, I don't think any of these people who are speaking have gone through that. Prabhu Chawla, an interview with Prabhu Chawla, where in Seedhi Baat, where he categorically said that if I have committed all the crimes that you are claiming I have committed, in that case, no question of apology, please hang me. Because those are not the crimes for which anybody should be excused. There is no excuse for such crimes. Then 2011, the verdict comes. The verdict is not a new verdict in Zakia's matter, but the matter was before the Supreme Court, SIT, which was monitored by the Supreme Court. And 2011, when a clean chit was given to him, he went on Sadbhadna mission to the communities in all districts and held one-on-one meeting with the people and kept fast for 36 days, 37 days. I don't think any politician in the history of India has done that, post Mahatma Gandhi, of course. Then comes this, which is also, this is not a new case. This is a case which was closed down by the Supreme Court.
What about saying I'm sorry that this happened on my watch?
No,
I'm sorry that people died when I was Chief Minister. This is horrible.
Nidhi, this is horrible is what has been expressed already. If I have committed a wrong, which the courts have found repeatedly, that there was no wrong committed by the CM or the Gujarat government.
No, even if he's not criminally culpable, I'm just saying the fact that these killings happened.
Nidhi, we are coming to the assuaging the pain part. Now, assuaging the pain part, nobody has ever discussed that 6,500 crore 10 years ago was spent on rehabilitation process of these victims. Nobody in the history of riots can claim that. Maximum number of cases, including, you know, Zakia's matter, which everybody is discussing, nobody is telling that this was on a photocopied FIR. There were forms that I dash so and so. Allow me, please. You're talking about assuaging, you're talking about giving.
So you're saying he's spoken through his actions?
He has spoken through his
and
actions. He has spoken through his words, he's spoken through his actions. What do you want?
What do you want, Javed Anand? Let me take that to you. As an activist who's dealt with this issue for...
Let me ask Javed. Will not get converted.
Okay, so Javed, you know, as Meenakshi said, there are people, and Ashok said the same thing, there are people who just will not be convinced no matter what. So what is it that you would want from Mr. Modi today?
Let me not say, Nidhi, what I want. Let me not also express my views on what I think. Let me just kind of present a few facts before you and see if they match with the feelings that Mr. Modi says he had of anguish and agony and everything else in 2002. I will not even talk about the actual killings and the mutilation of bodies and the gang rapes and all. I am talking about the aftermath of that.
You should talk about the falsity.
It looks as if Mr. Modi is constantly mixing up facts with fiction. The Gujarat earthquake did not happen 5 months before the carnage of 2002. It happened 13 months before, when not he but Mr. Keshubhai Patel was the Chief Minister. That nature-made disaster united Gujarat's Muslims and Hindus and everybody else. 2002 ripped the communal relations apart completely. That is point number one. Point number two is Mr. Modi, according to this blog of his today, was so anguished at that time that he had no time to think of the anguish and pain of others. Thus, for example, the over 1.65 lakh Muslims who were voluntarily forced out of their house living in relief camps, there were tens of thousands of boys and girls who pleaded repeatedly for postponement of exam because they were in no position to give their annual examinations in March and April. The Gujarat government said no. The Gujarat government refused to provide any relief until on a petition from Citizens for Justice and Peace, the Gujarat High Court ordered, and then Mr. Modi had to perforce provide relief, but soon thereafter he made a statement saying, why should we be supporting baby producing centers?
Why do you think he said this in the blog today?
Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment more, please. Point number 3 is when Mr. Lingdo said the conditions are not right for elections in 2002, August 2002. He repeatedly pointed out to his constituency that Lingdo is saying this because he's a Christian like Sonia Gandhi. He's not J.M. Lingdo. He's James Michael Lingdo. Point number 2002 elections of his was fought not as an assembly election but as if it was an India-Pakistan war where there was repeated reference to Mia Musharraf, Mia Musharraf, Mia Musharraf. So this is his, the kind of record that we are talking about. If this looks like a man in anguish, he even distinguished between Hindu pain and Muslim pain.
Okay, I'll take it quickly before I
you know, I'm surprised.
Okay, Javed,
sorry, I'll
take
take 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
Yeah.
20 seconds. 20 seconds. Can I have my 20 seconds, please?
Yeah, quickly.
2 lakh rupees compensation for the Hindu victims of Godhra. This thing, 1 lakh for those who died 27th onwards. Even the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government was shocked and had to intervene.
Okay, so does this look like a man
now,
in
if
anguish?
all this sounds like a man who was anguished, whose heart beats for everybody, I leave it to your viewers to judge.
No, he looks like a man in action because I have given the figure of how many times the medical help was available to the victims, how a circuit house, how Mr. Anand, please allow me to complete. And I'm surprised at Mr. Anand's statement that Mia Musharraf paints him as if he's the president of India and not Pakistan, and he has no qualms that here is a person who has hurt the Indian interest repeatedly, and Mr. Anand is fighting for Musharraf more than his own brotherhood. And when it comes to my own brotherhood, and I claim Hindus and Muslims alike, everyone in the country, every drop of blood which has fallen on this land in any riot, it pains me, it pains any Indian. And when we are discussing dividing this for political gains is what Modi fixing industry is doing, Modi crucifixion industry has done throughout. They have never allowed wounds to heal, but in Gujarat, wounds have healed, and 30% of Muslim population has voted for Mr. Modi, including a constituency like Katle, where 70% population is Muslim, and yet they have chosen a BJP candidate and have supported Mr. Modi. But now this pain which was suffered by people.
You have not answered 5 of my questions.
I will answer
you have not
each
answered
one,
5
Mr.
of my
Anand.
questions. They are facts. Challenge me if you can.
I am capable of
Please
answering.
challenge me if you can.
I will answer each one.
Take them one by one.
All right, I'll answer one by one. Let it be one-on-one face-off. Let him ask a question
I don't
and
have
I'll
time for a one-on-one face-off, but there are 2 or 3 points that he raised.
Yeah, please repeat it for my. I'll answer
put 6 questions
because I felt everything was such a cooked-up story which he was speaking.
So you believe Mr. Modi has been misinterpreted and misread?
Not just misinterpreted, misinformation, sustained misinformation campaign has been run. That is what I am saying.
I just want to ask the Congress briefly.
You know, nobody. Allow me one line. Allow me, Mr. Anand should keep quiet right now.
No, 1 second.
A circuit house was converted into a virtual police station. All the people, a cabinet committee was held to give the relief and rehabilitation, and all Muslim officers were sent there to look after. Each person in those camps had been investigated medically.
Why hasn't Mr. Modi said a word on Maya Kodnani all these years?
Why should he? The
courts
are doing their job.
Why did the High Court need to intervene, ma'am? Why did the High Court have to intervene in mid-April?
By the same court.
And direct the Gujarat government to do what it was not doing.
The fact there is no distinction between people A, B, C who indulged in riots goes to show that administration performed perfectly well. In fact, people like Mr. Anand should answer that 62 people who have been named in a fabricated case of Ms. Zafri. In that case, you know, a widow, of course, a wrong has happened. She's lost her husband.
It is most convenient, madam. You are not
Jafri,
answering my question. You are running away from my question.
Of course, it is fabricated.
What
are you talking about? Allow me to complete. I have a point of view.
Most convenient.
I have 62 people have been named. Some of them were not even in the country. A person has been named as Home Minister who was not even the Home Minister. people were missing, they
What
were
is the topic of
posted
discussion just
outside,
now?
even
Filling
they
the
have been
facts.
named. That kind of falsity. Zakia Jafri till 2005
What are
appeared
we
before
discussing today,
Nanavati
Nidhi?
Commission,
Yeah,
gave
one
two
second, Javed.
affidavits which were
Okay,
completely
but we're
different
digressing
from
here.
the 2006
We're digressing here.
affidavit.
Anand Gadgil,
And
the point is, how does the
they are
Congress look at
exploiting
what today
a widow.
commentators are saying
You have
is
run away from
an
my
attempt
question.
by Mr. Modi, an attempt by Mr. Modi to soften his image. He may not convince those who are against him and against what he stands for, but fence sitters certainly may be more inclined to turn towards him. Mr. Gadgil, how does the Congress see that?
My first reaction is these are crocodile tears. Secondly, if the court verdict would have been different yesterday, perhaps we would not have seen this kind of a block. Third thing, I was in Gujarat when the election took place last 10, 12 days, 15 days I was camping in Gujarat. I was surprised to read this blog because I've never seen, Mr. Modi writing or talking in English, this kind of an English when I was there in Gujarat. So I wonder whether somebody else has written this or Mr. Modi has written it. That clearly indicates, if you see the
Someone
blog,
could
the
have
word
translated it
apologies
as well. That doesn't
appear
change
in
the
that blog,
meaning.
in that write-up. So he has not, no, let me complete. So he has not used the word apology. That means this is all because they want to take the advantage of the situation which was created yesterday. They are creating a picture, Mr. Modi and his colleagues, that the court verdict is end of everything, which is not the case. Only the local court has given the judgment.